Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live stream. Scott Squires with you. And tonight we've got a special guest. We've had some guests on over the last little bit, hockey related, basketball related. And because I'm a huge baseball fan, I figured, why not bring this guy in? Halifax Moosehead Dry. How you doing, Chris?
Dartmouth Moosehead Dry.
Oh, God.
No
I
worries.
can't even go back and delete that out because we're live. Yes, of
That's
course.
okay.
Moosehead Dry. My goodness. How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I was just seeing if you're on your toes. Just
Oh,
making
that's okay.
So tell me what you've been doing. I think we're looking at like 5-6 weeks now that we've all been under this self-isolation and kind of social or physical distancing and kind of changing what the new normal is. What have you been doing?
Well, I'm a teacher, so I've been trying to plan lessons from here to get to my students in the community and wherever they are. And, like trying to plan from home and deliver it's supposed to be like an hour's work a day. It's pretty challenging and touching base and all that. Other than that, I've kind of been just watching Netflix, trying to work out from home, swinging at air, I guess. Can't swing anywhere else, and doing home workouts and playing vids.
Netflix. Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask. Tiger King?
Watched it. Crazy.
I might be one of the few in my direct circle of colleagues, friends, family, whatever, that hasn't seen it, and I'm almost nervous to. I don't know.
It's unbelievable. Like, it's crazy that that's a real life thing. But it's like we watched it. My wife and I watched it in like 2 days. Done.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your advice. Should I watch it? Should I?
Yes, you should definitely watch it. Yep.
All right, based on the advice of Chris Head. You mentioned being a teacher. What school do you teach at, and what has that been like? Have you been able to have any contact with your students, reach out to the parents? What's that been like?
I teach at Nelson Winder Elementary in North Preston, grade 2-3. Yeah, I've been touching base kind of daily with some students, trying to work in small groups and making sure that they are doing something. I mean, right now it's, like I said, it's very challenging with like technology at home, being able to use that technology. Just making sure that they're staying on top of something and, like doing little things. I mean, you're not going to be able to replace the classroom environment and learning from one another, but we're trying to do our best as teachers just to provide something that they can do at home.
Now, I know in the Head household, there is yourself, your wife, and the dog. So tell me your wife's name, tell me the dog's name, the type of dog, and kind of just tell me about the dynamic of everybody being all together.
My wife's name is Jessie, and my dog's name is Hank, after Hank Aaron. He's a brown Boston Terrier. He's been our distraction of late, because it'd just be me and her, and I'm mostly in the basement playing vids, and if not, we're out for a walk, walking the dog and playing with him and making sure he's staying active too.
Is the dog getting tired of going for walks?
He's not. My wife went for a walk. She just wanted to go by herself today because he went on a long one yesterday. We figured he was tired, but I've never seen someone feeling so sorry for themselves over not being able to go for a walk than he was this afternoon.
Well, it keeps you out, keeps you exercising, and pardon me. I mentioned that we've had some hockey players and hockey-related folks on in basketball. But it's getting to that time of year, into April, May, spring, summer, getting close, where you start thinking about baseball and going out and practicing and the crack of the bat and just that whole atmosphere that surrounds baseball. But that's so very different right now, right across the sports world. How have you been coping with all that, and how have you been kind of staying in a baseball frame of mind?
I'm just trying to do workouts at home right now. I mean, just to stay in, being optimistic that we'll be able to play baseball at some point. I'm not guaranteeing anything, obviously, and there's nothing being guaranteed. But I mean, at some point, we got to hope that this clears up in time to get some sort of baseball season, whether or even watch sports or be active. It's like right now, if it's pretty boring, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something. But not being able to play baseball for summer is hard to wrap my head around, and I still haven't come to grips with it just yet until they say there is no baseball this summer.
I have to be the eternal optimist and hope that we will see sports back right across the board
Yep.
sooner rather than later, and that would certainly be great for you. And the Dartmouth Moosehead Dry, I mentioned hockey earlier. One of the teams that I am very involved with in terms of covering them via social media, podcast, live stream, whatever, are the Halifax McDonald's, the major midget team. And I always like to mention just how iconic a franchise they are in major midget hockey, not only in Nova Scotia, but across Canada. And in senior baseball, the Dartmouth Moosehead Dry would certainly be an iconic franchise as well. How long have you been with them, Chris? And just kind of tell me what it's like to play for that team.
This year would be my 15th year with the team. It's the whole deal with our team is it's team first and the winning mentality. We never ever count ourselves out. We never think that we're the underdog going in any situation. We have the guys and we have the talent, and that's always been our mindset. That comes from when I came up here. I come from a small town in Cape Breton, New Waterford, where we kind of were the underdogs a lot. But when you play for Dartmouth, you're not the underdog and you don't act like an underdog. The expectation is to win at all levels.
It really is. And again, a very long and illustrious history for this Dartmouth Moosehead Dry franchise. I mean, very iconic, the logo, the pinstripes, the black and white, very similar to the New York Yankees, the gold standard in Major League Baseball. Maybe just give me a couple of your fond memories, things that pop out at you right now over your career with the Dry.
The first time I got called up is one of my favorite ones. We were in Sydney. I was living at home then, so I was able to play there. I didn't know about the senior league then. I was playing for the Canada Games team and the Dartmouth junior team, the affiliate. So I had played there because a lot of the Canada Games guys were playing there, and we kind of wanted that synergy across the board. So my first game was in Sydney, and it got rained out. So we had to play 3 games that Sunday, 3 7-inning games. That's the first time I got called up, and then I ended up getting called up for the playoffs, and we won. And I knew at that point that I was going to play there next year because I remember myself and Matthew McDonald, we were going down to Ulster, New York, and we just said, we're coming back here 1,000% and playing here because, winning's contagious. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, tell me about your first hit.
My first official hit in the league was an infield single, a regular ground ball to the shortstop in Kentville, and I beat it out.
You remember the pitcher that you hit it off of? And if you don't remember specifically the pitcher, do you remember the pitch?
It was a fastball. It was early in the count. It was my first at bat, and it was in Kentville.
I bet you almost could close your eyes and think of it just like it happened a moment ago.
Yeah, I could. We had the advantage, too. We played with the Canada Games team. We played in the senior league the year before, too. That's where I got another taste of it. So, I was at UBC, and I came home late to play. But I love the league. I'm a big league guy. I want to do whatever's best for the league. But it's awesome to play in this league.
And I know that you've had a lot of memories and a lot of moments, and you sent me some pictures earlier. I'm going to put a couple up now, and I'll just kind of get you to talk about them, maybe reference some of the people in those pictures, tell me when it was taken, kind of give me the context of the picture. The first one I'll put up is right here.
Let's look at the guys here just to make sure. This is, it's either last year or the year before. This is the year before. This is our 31-1 season. So we had just won the championship and celebrating.
Everybody looks pretty darn happy now. The little kids, you got some kids out there with you too.
Yep, those are 2 of those kids are Jeff Reeves's kids, and 2 of them are Bobby Gillis's grandchildren, our coach.
Very cool picture indeed. Now, this one, I got to say, you're looking pretty stern, pretty stoic in the background of this one as you're in behind the on-deck hitter. Tell me about this one.
This is at Nationals. This is a game against Quebec. This was our first little taste of adversity there last year. We had pretty much done a pretty good job of not running the table, but beating teams and being convincingly about it. Right here, we have a guy, he's throwing about 88, 90, and he's kind of mowing us down a little bit. It's early morning. I think I don't know if this is a tight game right here, so we're all kind of focused and trying to figure out what's the best way to beat this guy, whatever his patterns. That's our coach, Todd Parker, with the sunglasses. Down in front of myself there is Matt Doodley, Halifax Mac alumni, I'm pretty sure as well.
Yes.
And Dan Camo there is another longtime dry guy with myself. He's on deck.
You guys look like you're all staring down that mountain pretty hard.
Yeah, we are borderline obsessed with winning and trying to defeat our opponent anyway and trying to figure out how we are going to do that.
And, you know, we've talked about just how iconic the Moosehead Dry are, not only in the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League, but nationally, and how you have this swagger and you always feel like you can win. What's it like when you go to nationals? What's it like when you interact with the other teams? Do they know, oh, the Dry are coming in, or are they like, oh, that's that team from the East Coast? What's that like when you get on the national stage?
It's a little different for us in national. We play 9 innings in our league, and they play 7, so we kind of have to dial it up right away. But like other teams definitely know us. It's either the last couple of years, it's either been us or Sydney that have gone, and it's usually they take Sydney. If Sydney goes, they usually take a couple of our guys, or vice versa. But it's once you get to that stage and you've played there long enough, it's a lot of the same guys and same teams that go. So there is some relationships there. Like I know some guys from Alberta that played in BC. I played Team Canada at the amateur tournament in Prince George, probably 2010 or 09 or something like that. And they had a lot of their team was the Burnaby Bulldogs. So there's some guys from there, and like you start to develop relationships. You know everyone, but it's the same mentality. They're going there to win as well. So you don't want to be too chummy.
Sure. Now, the Moosehead Dry, obviously representing the Nova Scotia Senior Baseball League and well known in the Atlantic region, who would be a couple of teams from other regions, from other provinces, that to you would be like, oh yeah, those guys are back again, like a Moosehead Dry, a team that kind of always seemed to be perennially there?
I'll see if I can go across the board. Newfoundland's usually St. John's. New Brunswick has a really good league. It's usually Fredericton or Chatham that usually go in the last couple of years. I believe Moncton is supposed to go this year. In Quebec has an all-star team. Ontario is usually like Tecumseh or Mississauga. Manitoba is an all-star team, I believe, or they don't really use their club colors. They use Manitoba jerseys. Saskatchewan was always the Hornets, I believe, the Regina Hornets, I believe. Alberta is usually Sherwood Park or Red Deer, and BC has been Burnaby or what's that other one? I can't remember the other BC team that usually goes, but Burnaby's been there a lot.
And I know that there's probably some fond memories from nationals as well. Do you remember your very first experience playing at nationals? What was it like?
With the Dry, that
Yeah.
was in 06, I believe, 06, and it was in Manitoba, and they had just won their back-to-back. So the Dry had won in 04 in Moncton, and they won in 05 as the Nova Scotia All-Stars, but the Dry had won, so they kind of like took most of the guys. So I think they took 10 guys, and they broke it down to the league, but they had won in Kamloops, I believe. And so 06, I was hoping to make that a three-peat, but we were kind of short some guys that they'd had in the past. I believe, I don't remember if that was the one that Dewey couldn't go because of the birth of his son. So we were kind of short going in. We didn't have the usual stacked lineup. So it was a challenge, but like again, the expectation was to win.
Baseball, like most sports, a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about this format is that people can comment either on my Facebook page or on Periscope or Twitter. And if they're nice, I can put the comments on screen like this.
Oh, how about former vice president?
I was going to say, go ahead and comment on Mark and on his.
Hubba's one of the most important people in the Drive for decades. Hubba does a lot of the groundwork off field, and he was our announcer, and he is the voice of the Dry for years. He's recently stepped down over the last 3 years ago, I believe, but he bleeds Yankees and he bleeds Dry. That's that's Hub. Hub and I talk probably about once a month, just catch up and talk old times. He talks to the old guy, Joel, a lot, so I talk to Joel through Hubba most times.
And he he makes, the hashtag Dry hashtag tradition of champions. And there really is that tradition of being a championship ball club. For new guys coming in, whether it's a rookie or whether it's someone that's coming to the team for the first time, how do you kind of bring them in and explain that tradition, or does it need explaining?
It doesn't really need explaining because, like, right now, our team is so close and so tight that if you're coming with us, it's team first, and the expectation is to get better to help the team. Like, our guys, like, and I'm not trying to be favorites or anything, but our team works very hard. Like, we do not stop hitting. Like, this is the longest we've gone without hitting. We won our championship the last 2 years, and 2 weeks later, we were back out getting swings, indoors, outdoors. Like, every Thursday, we at 7:30 we'd go, and guys would go get 50 to 100 swings each, and then go for a beer afterwards. Like, that's how it starts. You got to build the team within and make sure that everyone's on the same page. So if you didn't fit our mold, then, like, we might not look at you. But if you're a guy that's has the same values as us, then you're going to do just fine.
And it really is a very tight knit group. You become intertwined. You become friends for life. You build this bond and playing for the team. And this picture kind of spells all that out. Maybe just tell me a little bit about the context of this picture, and then obviously about that extremely important jersey number 40.
This is our win this year. This is this was this is the latest one. That is all of us celebrating, obviously, and that is number 40 is for our pitcher that passed away due to leukemia. His name is Cam Marling. That jersey is framed up in our press box, and usually when we win, it makes it down to the pictures because he's someone that, like, he was a dry guy, and I say dry guy meaning like he was one of us and had the same mentality, and we like to honor him when we win and think about all the times. Usually when you win, you think about all the other times this season, past times, and you just enjoy the moment, man.
Yeah, and I know that he was exceptionally special to the team, and it's wonderful how you continue to honor his memory season in and season out. And it's a tight knit group, and this next picture kind of speaks to that because it kind of spans a couple of generations of Moosehead Dry. So, kind of break down the guys that are in this really cool picture that you sent.
This is the 25-year all-time dry team. This is the biggest honor I've received so far in baseball, to be honored to be considered one of the best for a team. So I'll start with the back. That's Greg Marquis in the black, Darren Doucette, Trevor Zwan, Greg West, Joel Irvin, Todd Parker, Danny O'Hearn, myself in front, Jason Bailey, Jay Washington, Ryan Doucette, Jeff Sutton. There is a lot of championships in this picture. There is some draft picks in this picture. There is a lot of winning in this picture.
And certainly lots of names there that would be familiar to sports fans and baseball fans in the region, but hard not to know the big guy in the back there, one in from the left, Darren Doucette.
Absolutely.
Tell me a couple of Darren Doucette stories.
Well, Dewey is the purest hitter I've ever seen and played with as a teammate. I've learned a lot from him, part of my growth as a hitter, just watching him and having conversations around hitting. He's hit some of the farthest balls, but in the grander scheme of things, the one thing that I've always loved about Dewey is that Dewey is a big game player. He always comes up in the big moments when you need him. And time in and time out, man, that guy, when the game was on the line and we needed a hit, it was either over the fence or through the fence. So can't say enough about that.
Can you think of the farthest ball that you ever saw him hit?
One of the two farthest ones I've ever seen, one was in Truro. It was a pretty foggy night, big game in the playoffs. He hit one that we lost in the fog, and you say you didn't see it land. I still don't remember seeing it land. I knew it was fair. I knew it was gone, and that's pretty much it. The second farthest one I've ever seen him hit was in batting practice. He hit one over the trees from the backstop that landed on a roof in the right field of Beasley. That's probably one of the farthest ones. Not a game one, but that's pretty far.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he's got a baseball academy as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He does. Yeah, he's doing hitting camps, and he's also coach of the U Selects team. His baseball academy is on Caledonia. He has 2 cages in there. That's where we go hit. It's great. And Dewey's someone too that he has a lot of knowledge around hitting. He's someone that I consult with, or I would definitely, if you were struggling, you need work, he's someone that I would go to first.
Now, the last picture that I'm going to put up, before I put it up, I want to kind of set the stage here. Athletes have a way of remembering whether it's their first hit, their first goal, their first catch basket, whatever. The picture I'm going to put up, and it's an iconic one, and it's been seen many times. The video footage has made it to the airwaves on news shows and sports highlight shows. But before I show the picture, set it up for me. Set the stage. Tell me the game. Where were you? Set it up, and then we'll lead up to it, and then I'll show the picture.
So it is at Nationals in 09 or 08, I believe. I can't remember which years we hosted back-to-back. It's the second year. We are 3-0 or 2-0 in the tournament already. If we go 3-0, we have a bye to the semifinal. Steve Nelson is on the hill. We are playing Manitoba, and I believe it's a 2-strike count. And the wind is blowing out, and he hit a fly ball that just kept going and going and going.
And then
it's funny when you watch the video. I actually had not a poor read, but I took a poor route to this ball, and I had to adjust to climb the fence. That's one thing that, I preach footwork when I work with outfielders, but that's why I preach it, so you can get yourself in a better position to catch the ball. But yeah, I remember that very fondly, and that's one thing that I've always wanted to do in a game. Being a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan growing up, and him being my favorite player and watching him doing it, the only thing I've ever wanted to do in the outfield is take one home run away.
You definitely took that one away, and you don't quite get the context because the bottom part of the picture is cut off, but you got some air under you there. You had some hops.
Yeah, I had to get up quick. I had to find the fence and then had to go get it.
Would that be the highest and the most outstretched you've ever been to rob a potential home run?
Yes. Practice or anything else. That is the farthest I've ever had to go in terms of and just like I said, it's one thing to do it in practice and do it when there's nothing on the line, but when you get an opportunity to do it with something on the line, it means that much more. It's etched in my memory.
And what was the reaction from the guys on the field that were also at the So the dugout, let's talk about the reaction of your teammates first. What was their reaction?
There was a lot of just clapping and jaw dropping. I remember one of my best friends, Matty Thomas, being in right field, and he said, as I was going up, he said, "No, something way," or something to that effect. And then it was kind of like a hard high five type thing, fired up. But in the video, I'm always pretty calm when it comes to a big moment because I want that expectation that I want to be that guy in the big moment. So I try not to be too fired up. I usually try to remain calm, and because I find I'm better focused when I'm calm.
And I know that, the opponent wants to beat you, but I also know that opponents respect a big play or a spectacular play or whatever. Do you remember the reaction of the team that you robbed?
Yeah, the guy, he kind of it wasn't that big of it. He kind of just he stopped it for a second at halfway between first and second, stared at the outfield, and just kind of jogged with his head down back to the dial, shaking his head. It wasn't anything notable. It was just kind of wow, okay, that's how you're going to start the game.
I'm pretty sure that when that left his bat, he thought that he was going to be jogging around and touching them all.
Yeah, it was. He hit it straight up, and with the wind going out at Beasley's a little league field. It's pretty small, so if there's wind going out there, you can get it up. It's going. And
we'll get you out of here in just a second. Let you get back to your wife and the dog, Hank. But you mentioned being from New Waterford and Cape Breton. What's your earliest recollection of playing ball, Chris? How did you take up the game?
Believe it or not, my dad and my grandfather are huge baseball people. My uncle was actually a big baseball guy as well. So that was their favorite sport. And I remember growing up and it started simply watching the Blue Jays. It started with my uncle being a Yankees fan, my dad being a Blue Jays fan, my papa loving Mickey Mantle. And my grandfather always wanted me to switch hit or play outfield, and being left-handed, my dad always just made me play outfield because he said, "You're going to play outfield, you're going to play first, you're going to pitch. Which one do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't like the first two, so I'll play the outfield." And then we started watching stuff like Griffey and watching the Blue Jays videos, Devon White, Jim Edmonds. And I basically remember, going in the field with my dad and having a catch and then hitting and then heading home and then going to the backyard, having another catch. And then playing with your friends during the week, playing backyard baseball.
And a rich tradition of baseball down in the Cape Breton area.
Yep.
And there are a couple of players that played locally that you used to look up to that you remember when you were a kid, kind of learning the game and growing up?
Not so much locally, but I just really enjoyed just going and playing with my friends. Like it wasn't that I looked up to anybody or wanted to emulate anyone else, because like you kind of like watching professional baseball. Like I like seeing Griffey. Everyone did Griffey's stance. So we would just go to the field and just play, man. Like honestly, like go to practice, play after practice, and just that was our summer. Like it was simple, but it was awesome.
When you were together with your friends playing, that's one thing. But I know for me, when I was a kid, I loved playing baseball. And if none of my friends were around, I would go out and throw the ball off the side of the house or just hit it out in the field. What kind of stuff did you do on your own to play ball? Like what kind of things?
Being an outfielder, I did the whole ball off the roof. So you throw the ball on the roof, it rolls off the roof. So you got to go get it after that. So it's kind of like a react thing. That's how I did it when I was by myself, just practicing fly balls and reads. As I got older, my dad and I built a batting cage. It wasn't much, but like going in there and hitting. And eventually, my grandfather bought me like a foam ball pitching machine. It was awesome. So like my friends we had a big thing there. We'd have home run derbies all the time. But if I could say to anybody, it's like when you play a sport, it's for your enjoyment and for your love of the game, and that should be first and foremost. I play baseball today because I love baseball, and it's part of my life. And it's not that it's right now. It's awesome because I go to see my friends and play with them too. But for grassroots, it's just going and playing and enjoying it. And like even the worst thing is if I go 0 for 4, like it sucks, but I'm going back tomorrow because I want to play.
Yeah, that's right. For love of the game, right?
Yep.
Last thing I want to ask you, actually, I meant to ask it earlier and I forgot. Number 4, your jersey number. Is there a story behind it? Is that your favorite number? Why 4?
Honestly, no. I did not like that number. When I came up to the Dry, my number was always 7 or 24. 7 for Mickey Mantle, 24 for Griffey, or 24 for Ricky Henderson. I like those numbers. But 7 was taken. 24 was kind of off limits because it was Suddy's number, and the old guys wouldn't give out the old numbers. So when I first came up, I believe when I got called up, I wore 27 for a minute. I liked that number, but I was the last one to get to pick jerseys that day or whatever. So Dewey he said, here's number 4. And I figured, you know what? I said, I never liked it to begin with, and it just kind of grew on me. So now it's funny. I don't worry too much about jersey number, but it's the number that's usually people give me now, so I just roll with it.
And in that iconic video and the picture that we had up, that's it. Now that Chris Head is forever synonymous now with that outstretched arm over the fence and the number 4.
Yeah, it's to me like it's one of those. It's funny. It's one of those things like like they always say like the players make the number. The player doesn't make the number or something. I don't know. Anyway, I forget the saying, but I just roll with it. It's what I wear now, so I pick it for like if I have to pick something, I pick number 4.
Well, Chris, listen, man, I reached out to you today to do this. You didn't hesitate to jump on. Really appreciate it. And I'll leave the last word to you, whether you want to say something to your students, to your teammates, to ball players everywhere. Last word to you, shout out, whatever you want.
I just, like hopefully everyone's staying at home, staying safe, trying to stay somewhat active in this time. Hopefully this is all over soon. We can get out, get some rips. We can go back to normal life. That's what I'm basically hoping for right now.
Well, Chris, all the best to you, your wife, the dog. Be safe, look after one another, and hope to see you back on the field soon with the Dartmouth Moosehead Dry.
Sounds good, man. You too. Take care of your family.
Yeah, you as well, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
I know.
That was Chris Head. So glad to have Chris join us. He's a member of the Dartmouth Moosehead Dry, and like the rest of us, he's just trying to stay busy, stay in shape, and just kind of keep his wits about him. But again, big thank you to Chris for hanging out and talking with us. What a treat it was to hear some of those stories from Chris's career about some of the players he's played with, some of the big moments that he's had. It was a real pleasure. And hey, maybe we'll get Chris back on again. Maybe Darren Doucette as well. Hear it from the man himself about some of those monster moonshots that he's hit. Thank you for tuning in. You may have noticed the Nova Scotia tartan in the background when I had both of our shots up on the screen. For the foreseeable future, I will continue to use that Nova Scotia tartan. I will continue to use the Stronger Together logo. And during this COVID-19, during this pandemic and the self-isolation and everything else, be safe, be well, look out for one another, look out for yourself. And again, I live in Truro, and to everyone in this community that has been affected in one way or another, across this community of Colchester County, across Nova Scotia, across Canada, and the world, my thoughts are with you every day. I'm here. If anyone ever needs to reach out to me, you can do so through social media. Get a hold of me. I'd love to chat with you, even if you just want to talk. And remember, my hugs are for you, and I love you. Nova Scotia strong. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Scott Squires. We'll do this again real soon. There's no question about it. And we'll look forward to seeing you right here again on these same channels. All right. So long for now. See you soon.